As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft orange glow over the small village, Edward sat at his old wooden desk, sighing deeply. His eyes drifted toward the little garden just outside his window. It was quiet, still, and empty, a stark contrast to the vibrant rows of potatoes, tomatoes, and herbs that used to grow there every spring. But this year was different. His son, Jack, was in prison, and Edward's heart felt as barren as the unplanted garden. Edward had always loved working with Jack in the garden. It was their shared pride, a tradition they cherished every year. Jack's strong arms would carry sacks of seeds, and his laughter would fill the yard as they planted each seedling with care. Now, with his son gone and his own body weakened by age, Edward felt a sadness he couldn't shake. That evening, he decided to write a letter to Jack, hoping to share his feelings and perhaps find some comfort. "My dear Jack. I hope you're keeping strong in there. I miss you terribly, son, and the house feels empty without your presence. This spring, the garden is bare, and every time I look at it, I remember how we used to plant it together. I tried to start the planting myself, but my back can't take it anymore. I fear there will be no potatoes this year. I just wanted you to know that I think of you every day, and I pray that one day we can work together again in our garden. Take care, my son. With love, Dad." When Jack received his father's letter, he read it over and over, feeling a heavy ache in his chest. The thought of his father struggling alone broke his heart. The little garden had been more than just a patch of earth for them, it was a symbol of their bond, their teamwork, and the quiet joy they shared in the simple act of planting together. Sitting in his cell that night, Jack thought about his father's words, racking his brain for a way he could help. He hated the idea of his father staring at an empty garden, weighed down by sadness. And then, after hours of pacing and mulling over ideas, he had a bold and slightly mischievous idea. With a sly smile, he sat down to write a response. "Dear Dad. I know things are hard right now, but there's something I must tell you that I haven't shared before. Before I was arrested, I buried plenty of gold in the garden. I scattered it in different places, and honestly, I can't even remember all the spots. But it's there, hidden under the soil. Please, Dad, you must dig up the entire garden and make sure you find it all. Be thorough, but keep it between us. And don't worry about me, I'm doing just fine. Take care of yourself, and I'll be thinking of you. With love, Jack." Days later, the letter made its way to Edward's house, but it wasn't just Edward who read it. The guards at the prison, following their routine, had inspected the letter and were immediately struck by Jack's mention of hidden gold. Word spread quickly, and soon enough, the police were notified. The idea of buried treasure in a simple farmer's garden was too tempting to ignore, and before Edward knew what was happening, a group of officers arrived at his house. "Mr. Edward, we have reason to believe there is gold buried in your garden," one of the officers announced, holding Jack's letter in hand. "We are under orders to search the premises." Bewildered but compliant, Edward nodded. He knew nothing of any hidden gold, but he allowed the officers to search. They immediately set to work, shovels in hand, tearing into the garden soil with energy in focus. They dug deep, turning over every inch of the garden, carefully examining every spot Jack had once touched. They dug under the fence, near the tool shed, and in every corner, hoping to uncover some secret stash of gold. Edward watched in stunned silence as the police turned his small patch of land inside out. He felt a mixture of confusion and faint amusement as they worked tirelessly, unaware of the quiet smile beginning to spread across his face. For hours, the officers dug, but of course, there was no gold to be found. Eventually, they gave up, frustrated and annoyed. They left the garden, muttering complaints about wild goose chases and wasting time. Edward stood by the garden gate, watching them leave, and then turned back to his small plot of land, which was now thoroughly dug up and loosened, ready for planting. Only then did it dawn on him. Jack's letter had been a ruse, a clever way to help him with the garden, even from a distance. By convincing the police to dig up the garden, Jack had done for his father what he couldn't do himself: prepare the soil for planting. A few days later, another letter arrived from Jack, and Edward opened it with a chuckle, half expecting the clever twist his son had woven into it. Dear Dad, I hope by now the garden is all dug up. I couldn't be there to help plant the potatoes myself, but I did what I could to make sure the soil was ready. It's the only thing I could think of to help you from here. Remember, every time you plant a seed, I am with you in spirit, watching our garden grow. Take care, Dad, and may the potatoes be plentiful this year. I miss you, and I look forward to the day we can work together again. With love, Jack. With misty eyes and a full heart, Edward folded the letter and placed it in his pocket. He spent the afternoon planting potatoes, each seed reminding him of his son's ingenuity and love. And as he worked, he couldn't help but smile, knowing that, even in the most unlikely of circumstances, Jack had found a way to be there for him. That year, the garden flourished more than ever. Each row of potatoes sprouted strong and healthy, a testament to the strength of a father and son's bond. And every time Edward tended to the plants, he felt Jack's spirit by his side, just as if they were working together once again. Attention, this story is about the enduring strength of love, creativity, and the bond between family members, even in challenging times. Jack's clever way of helping his father reminds us that love and care can transcend physical limitations. His ingenuity in orchestrating a solution from afar highlights that, when faced with adversity, sometimes unconventional thinking can bridge gaps and bring people closer. The story shows that acts of love don't always need to be direct. Sometimes, the thought, effort, and creativity behind them can be just as impactful. This is Storywave YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.